Hey folks, it's Spitz from Digital Pharma East in Philly, 2012. It's my pleasure to have John Ridgeway, who's Director of New Business for LocalWisdom. And they are what sounds like a master build shop, digital build shop for pharma. And we were just talking a little bit earlier about how the sense of proprietary content and privacy has shifted in terms of how people are engaging with digital. I remember personally back in the day, I didn't want to pay my bills online because I didn't want my personal financial information to be out there. So I was licking stamps, sending letters, all maybe 3 years ago I was doing this. Gradually my habits evolved in terms of convenience, in terms of the inevitability of using digital just to do my banking and e-commerce to the point where I never lick a stamp. The analog with healthcare is fascinating, and that kind of follows the trajectory of your own career.
That's exactly right, and thank you. This has been a great couple days now, and looking forward for the rest of the conference. And I think you're exactly right. I've seen this digital platform now, really going back to the late 90s when I was at Merrill Lynch U.S. Private Client, and we were putting for the first time people's portfolios and money online. So same marketing concerns, same compliance concerns, same regulatory concerns, and now you've sort of come full circle now with people's health, right? And so what I'm hearing in the room today is it's complicated stuff, but at the end of the day, with team building and approaches, people are getting it done.
Absolutely. Why do you think healthcare has taken such a long time in a relative sense to really catch up? You've got consumer packaged goods, you've got entertainment and media, and they're just voracious. They've been eating up digital left and right. Then you have banking and finance, where obviously personal information is much, much more delicate. And lastly, healthcare. But with healthcare, literally our lives are on the line.
And I think that's really the concern. And so, when you have people's health, when you have people's privacy, when you have regulatory concerns, clearly there's caution in the air. And so, the marketers in this room are clearly with the right approach and the tactics in that they need to, put the processes and the platforms in place. But at the end of the day, they're also, which is a good experiment. And so, to answer your question, Spitz, it's why is it taking so close? It's probably really it's people's lives and people's healths and the privacy of that information and the regulatory concerns.
The stakes are high, and when you're talking about platforms and processes, over at LocalWisdom, I understand you've built some major platforms over at J&J, a lot of other big pharmas. In terms of tactical implementation, how do you handle some of these issues, and how do you introduce some of the novel ideas and functionalities and opportunities that's really evolved in digital over the course of only the last few years?
Correct. No, and that's a great question. Actually, I was very pleased. One of our clients just spoke at one of the panels. And I think what we've been able to do from a digital perspective and at the end of the day getting it done is this: keep it simple, bring people on board early in the process. And so we've done that by setting up wireframes of a mobile application as an example. And we get that in front of the legal review teams. And so they begin to develop an understanding that, okay, I understand that this site, the Partners Against Pain, for Purdue is going to be viewed this way. This is what it's going to look like. I get it. And so I think it's open dialogue, it's transparency. And it's also breaking down the myth that, what digital is. I mean, it at some point is complicated. But we at LocalWisdom, what we try to do is keep it simple by just taking a direct, straightforward approach.
Yeah, I work in digital too, and the build cycles can be fairly complicated, and then the review and regulatory cycles even more so. Right. How do you bring together what ostensibly is a fairly siloed approach to pharmaceutical marketing, advertising, and communications to get the right stakeholders in the room so you can ultimately realize that vision that you share, which is sometimes on a limb for pharma, sometimes taking some risks, and is entering territory that they don't always understand.
So we always try to bake in that process, and so any of our initiatives have in the project plan those review milestones. And so what we'll do is say, concept X, marketing review X, medical legal review X. And so we know up front that those things need to be accounted for, those things need to be in place. And that also is a good milestone for the team and the projects, again, to where they know that this train's coming down the track.
And in terms of embracing some of the emerging technologies, like the inevitability of mobile, obviously mobile designs, responsive design, and integrating some neat functionality in terms of dynamic content generation and the like, can you cite some interesting examples that you find particularly compelling that pharma is beginning to embrace in terms of really ratcheting up the volume in terms of innovation within the digital space?
And good questions. I think from a responsive design approach, we take that full, front and center in what we do. And so we know that these programs will be accessible from the 4 screens. And so our information architects, our designers, our developers are aware of those experiences. And really, that's really front and center in our focus as to how we ultimately are delivering these platforms. Because we know at the end of the day, we can't control, really, how this person is accessing these platforms.
Do you get the feeling that the consumer now, especially within the healthcare, particularly the pharma space, has different expectations? And you mentioned the 4 screens, the transmedia reality that we're all dealing with. They're on their iPad, they're watching TV, they look at their computer, they're on their smartphone. The consumer has changed. And it's so rapid and it's so transformative, and pharma historically has been a few steps behind. How do you bring those 2 extremes together in a way where you're offering solutions to pharma in ways that do make a difference now?
Well, and I think pharma has come full circle, and I think they, obviously by the conversations I've been hearing in the room, they are listening. So first and foremost, we are listening to the consumer. And when everybody is aware that the consumer is hungry for information, when they want it, where they want it, and how they want it. So those are all exciting things. And so we're here to encourage that thinking. And at the end of the day, because that consumer is hungry, because it is their health, we need to know, we need to be working with our clients to better educate them on the 4 screens, to better educate them on how consumers are acting with these things. And so our designers and information architects are fully aware of, how the consumer, either the patient and or the caregiver and or the healthcare professional, needs to navigate through this information.
About 10, 12 years ago, at the turn of millennium, a brand.com that had a downloadable PDF of the prescribing information was like a big deal. There was Zip Social, Zip Mobile, aside from PDAs that physicians used every once in a while, no internet connectivity. Put your digital strategist hat on for just a second and share with our audience, being in the thick of designing some cutting-edge platforms for pharma within the digital space now. 2 years, 5 years, where do you think this is headed? And how ultimately do you think these changes could really improve the quality of life for patients?
Well, I think clearly, again, it's that information. It's the hunger for that information. So as our own information and clearly regulatory impacts, as our own information is becoming accessible online, and the concerns for privacy, to take this conversation full circle, clearly we're going to need more of this information coming online, right? So, I visit my doctor, and I look in the back room, and I see this wall of files, and I'm encouraged that I even see her now, with a PC as she's giving me a physical. So it's coming, right? And so if I can predict, 3 or 4 years from now, clearly mobile is going to be a big part of everything we do. Clearly tablet is going to be a big part of everything we do, because, and also I'm interested in this gamification idea. Gamification is a very interesting idea in how we can start to use social gamification and content to drive digital initiatives.
Awesome. It's John with Local Wisdom sharing big builds for pharma, digital stuff that's happening right now and peering into the future. It's Spitz, Digital Pharma East in Philly 2012. Signing off. Thanks a lot, John.